You'd think with all their advanced technology, breathable atmospheres and genetic cloaking devices, the aliens might have researched Earth's weather, or traffic, or say, pigeons. But no. Instead, they landed in Newark, New Jersey, disguised themselves as humans, and walked directly into what they would later describe as a Level 9 sensory assault zone, which is a fancy way of saying Earth slapped them in the face with a sweaty sock. The first to step off the cloaked shuttle was Operative Tharnis, mission lead, infiltration specialist, and self-declared expert on human behavior. He had spent 9 months studying Earth transmissions, absorbing sitcoms, political debates, and something called Jersey Shore. He considered himself ready. He was not. Tharnis's feet hit the pavement, and the heat hit him like a nuclear handshake. "This unit is malfunctioning," he croaked, as sweat immediately drenched his synthetic underarms. "Welcome to Earth," muttered a nearby human, walking by with 2 coffees and zero concern. Tharnis blinked behind his aviator shades, unsure if he had just been greeted or mocked. Probably both. Within 10 minutes, the disguise tech began glitching from the humidity. His pores oozed artificial perspiration. His hair gel, painstakingly designed to mimic casual cool, began melting down the sides of his cheeks like a dying candle. And then came the smell. "Oh, gods!" wheezed Operative Nixon behind him, gagging as she passed a food cart wafting hot dog steam mixed with gasoline and burnt onions. "Are these their nutritional intake rituals?" "Hold formation," Tharnis hissed, shielding his mouth with a damp paper napkin. "We must observe." Observe, yes. Blend in. That part proved harder. Nixan tried smiling at a passing man. He offered her a flyer for something called rage yoga and invited her to scream at traffic for stress relief. She screamed. Not for stress relief, just raw panic. Their mission had been simple: assess Earth's potential as a tactical threat. Blend in, gather data, report back. The Galactic Council had been increasingly nervous about humanity's strange rise in influence. The humans had no formal empire, no telepathic networks, and no unified command structure, just memes, caffeine, and an alarming number of nukes stored in questionable places. Still, Earth's chaos was contagious, and the Council didn't trust what it couldn't control. So the operatives arrived. The plan was to remain on Earth's surface for 72 hours, posing as tourists in major cities. But within 1 hour, the first operative had already attempted to desert. Operative Law, disguised as a blonde woman in yoga pants, locked herself in a public restroom after encountering a toddler wielding a snot-covered lollipop and demanding to know, "Why your face weird?" Meanwhile, Tharnis and Nixon made it 2 blocks before retreating into an air-conditioned Starbucks, panting and trembling. The barista greeted them with the usual glazed-over humanity of someone who had already witnessed too much. "What can I get you?" she asked without making eye contact. "Shelter," Tharnis whispered hoarsely. "And do you have an antidote for whatever this noise is?" "You mean music?" she asked, gesturing at the overhead speakers blaring dubstep. The other thing, the thumping, the screaming." He pressed both palms to his temples. "The existence." She stared at him for a long beat, then said, "So, venti iced matcha or—" An hour later, back inside their shuttle parked invisibly in a Walmart parking lot, the debrief began. "Conclusion," Tharnis croaked, holding an ice pack to his head. "Earth is uninhabitable." "Clarify," said the ship's AI, recording the report. "Environmental conditions include high UV radiation, toxic airborne particulates, noise levels approaching war zone frequencies, and an unpredictable species of flying rat that attempted to steal my bagel." "Pigeons," muttered Nixon from behind a trash can, where she was still hiding. "Human emotional spectrum remains erratic. One offered me a hug, another threatened to eat me, a third attempted to marry me for a green card." The AI blinked. "Assessment of human threat level. Worse than expected," Tharnis groaned. "Not because of weapons, because of vibes." He meant it. Humans didn't fight like other species. They vibed through disasters. They danced in rain, laughed during storms, and roasted marshmallows during blackouts. Their chaos wasn't just tolerance, it was fuel. You couldn't break them because they already lived broken and called it Tuesday. And Tharnis, seasoned field operative, found himself genuinely afraid. "We're leaving," he declared, tearing off his human disguise like it was coated in acid. "The Council must never try to invade this place. Earth doesn't repel invasions. It absorbs them. It makes them part of the madness." Nixon nodded, trembling. "They eat spicy food for pleasure," she whispered. "On purpose." The shuttle took off in silence, cloaking itself from Earth's view. On the way out of the atmosphere, they passed a group of humans waving at the sky from a beach, laughing and applying sunscreen. "Gods," Tharnis muttered. "They know we were here." They did not, but he wouldn't be convinced otherwise. "You're telling me," Grand Minister Call said slowly, like each word needed to be verified with internal therapy, "that the mission was terminated due to ambient Earth conditions." "Yes," Tharnis replied, standing before the Galactic Council with a towel still wrapped around his head like a refugee from a tropical war zone. The council chamber fell silent. Rows of species, some aquatic, others exoskeletal, and one that looked like a sentient carpet, watched the playback of the Earth footage. It was grainy, shaky, and confusing. Clip 1. A human screaming into traffic because someone cut them off while crossing the road. Clip 2. A pigeon pooping mid-flight, causing Nixon to shriek and dive into a recycling bin. Clip 3. A toddler screaming "poop fart" on loop in a grocery aisle while throwing cereal at strangers. Clip 4. A man in New York looking directly at Tharnis and saying, "You looking at me?" while holding a ferret. "This is your evidence?" Call asked, blinking all three of his eye pairs. "Sir," Tharnis said solemnly, "I have infiltrated war zones. I've walked the sulfur rivers of Draknor 5. I once posed as a larva to survive a Crexian nursery. But nothing prepared me for the sight of a man screaming at a microwave at 2 a.m. in a gas station." Several council members flinched. "Microwave?" hissed Ambassador Velik from the Drenari cluster. "They cook using radiation," Nixon said, voice cracking. A loud murmur ran through the chamber. Call leaned forward. "You mean the humans are immune to it?" "No," Tharnis said. "They just don't care." That night, back aboard the Council's orbital flagship, a secret meeting was called. Only the highest-ranking species were invited. Call, Velik, the Chancellor of Defense, a few others. A recording orb hovered in the corner, offline. "They cannot be ignored any longer," Call said gravely. Velik shook his massive scaled head. "We have studied their biology. It is average. Their weapons are primitive by our standards. Their government is fractured, their species divided. They cannot even decide on what pizza topping should dominate, let alone form a unified war front." "Yet," murmured Chancellor Tynox, "they win. Always. They collapse, then recover. They panic, then laugh. They riot, then hold concerts. I watched one of them go from crying over a breakup to dancing alone in public with headphones on, in under 5 minutes." "That is their greatest weapon," said Tharnis from the shadows, finally rejoining them. "Resilience disguised as madness. Their entire species runs on something they call vibes." Everyone shivered. "Then it's true?" asked Velik. "We cannot invade." "Oh, you can try," Tharnis said, stepping forward, voice low. "You'll just wake up one day and find half your soldiers running food trucks and the other half trying to start a rock band." Silence. Finally, Chancellor Tynox said, "Then what do we do?" "We watch," said Call. "We monitor. We never engage directly. And above all, we classify Earth as a containment zone." "And what do we call this phenomenon?" another asked. Tharnis paused, then answered, "Deathworld," with punchlines. Meanwhile, back on Earth, a completely oblivious human named Ethan was sitting in a park, laughing at a squirrel falling off a tree. He had just broken up with his girlfriend, lost his job, and found out his rent was going up. And still, he laughed. He opened a can of soda, leaned back on the bench, and flipped off the sky. Somewhere above, in an invisible shuttle, the aliens screamed and fled the atmosphere. In a quiet section of the Galactic Historical Preservation Archives, deep beneath the surface of Atraxis Prime, behind quantum-locked doors and DNA-encoded vaults, There existed a file known simply as E1027, Homo sapiens, Earth species, type extreme. And right now, High Archivist Lorqual was holding that file with trembling claws. "I thought the Deathworld designation was temporary," he muttered, scanning through decades of entries. "Oh no," replied Overseer Vren, one of the few who had ever set foot near Earth and survived with most of their sanity intact. "It's permanent now, ever since the dumpster fire incident." Lorqual paused. "Is that metaphorical or—" "No, literal. A human child set a dumpster on fire during a school protest. The flames spelled out the word YOLO. That footage caused a minor galactic rebellion among youth factions." Lorqual groaned and leaned back. "And I thought the Korgal uprising was bad." Vren pointed to a passage in the file, highlighted in red. "Do not attempt prolonged infiltration. Even species equipped with internal climate regulation, neurosonic filtering, and digestive adaptability failed to last longer than 23 Earth hours. Agents reported symptoms of psychological collapse after hearing something called baby shark, gastrointestinal shutdown from processed meat product called gas station hot dog, mental confusion triggered by Earth social rituals, e.g. small talk and TikTok challenges." Lorqual blinked. "What the hell is a TikTok?" "Hell is accurate," said Vren. He walked to a console, typed in a code, and brought up a hologram of a recent extraction. An alien scout curled into a fetal position, muttering, "They asked me what Hogwarts house I was. I didn't have an answer. They said I was a Hufflepuff. What does it mean?" Lorqual winced. "And you're saying Earthlings live like this, daily? They call it a Tuesday." Up above Earth, the Katal cruiser Veil of Shadows hovered silently. Inside, Commander Yervok reviewed his team's body cam footage. It was chaos. The footage showed Agent Loth crumpling under the pressure of a birthday party, balloons popping, children screaming, a clown spraying whipped cream into their own mouth. Agent Drac was seen attempting to retreat into a bathroom, only to encounter a motion sensor air dryer that screeched like a banshee and blew its fur off. Yervok paused when he saw Agent Reaver being tackled by a small, joyful creature in a tutu shouting, "Puppy hug." "That wasn't even a puppy," Yervok muttered. "That was a toddler." He turned to his second-in-command. "Status? We have 3 hospitalized, 2 undergoing trauma memory deletion, and one is trying to stay." Yervok blinked. "Stay?" "Agent Vorax says he's met a human female, something about craft beer, bar trivia, and we vibe now. Send a retrieval unit." "No." Yervok scowled. "What do you mean, no?" He told them everything. They liked it. She introduced him to something called karaoke night. He's singing now, badly. They're cheering. Yervok turned and stared down at Earth through the viewport, dread curling in his spine. "We've lost him." At Galactic Command HQ, the Council was already preparing Earth's reclassification. "Make it clear," Chancellor Call barked. "Earth is off limits. No contact, no infiltration, no trade. Just observe and pray." Velik frowned. "But surely their culture has some redeeming traits." "Oh, they do," Tharnis said, stepping in once more. "They're brave, adaptive, creative, problem-solving geniuses with incredible potential." "Then why the restriction?" Tharnis leaned in. "Because they live in hell, and they like it." Down on Earth, an elderly human woman chased a raccoon off her porch with a broom while yelling, "I survived the Great Depression, you oversized trash panda." In orbit, sensors flared. One alien vomited, and still they watched. Because Earth wasn't just dangerous, it was contagious. It started with Agent Jireel trying to understand a bus schedule. He had infiltrated a metropolitan zone disguised as a human male wearing what the files called casual Friday wear, khakis, polo shirt, slightly confused expression. Blending in was easy, understanding human systems was not. The bus never came. Then 3 came at once, then one stopped, opened its doors, and the driver stared at him. "You getting in or auditioning for a statue gig?" Jireel blinked. He boarded. No one paid with currency. Everyone just tapped little rectangles. Jireel tapped his alien transmitter. Nothing happened. The driver stared. A small child offered him a sticker of a cartoon sponge and said, "He's your friend now." Jireel sat down. The sticker blinked. He didn't last 2 hours. Elsewhere, Agent Freevok wandered into what appeared to be a human festival. Music pounded at a frequency known to disrupt higher neural functions in many species. Colored powders flew through the air. No one was wearing protective gear. A shirtless man shouted, "Whoa!" while holding a snake. No one else seemed to find that odd. Freevok found a food stall. "Deep-fried butter," the vendor grinned. Freevok assumed it was a translation error. It was not. He took one bite, screamed, and began to weep uncontrollably. 2 teenage girls saw him crying and took a selfie with him. #SadVibes, they said. The humans did not fear chaos. They invited it. At the Galactic Council, panic had turned into spreadsheets. "Okay," Councillor Jarkal began, clicking through a hologram of Earth's most notorious locations. "So far, we've identified zones of concentrated psychological distress. Walmart on Black Friday, DMV offices and... What is this one?" A flash of flashing lights, loud bass, humans grinding on each other with something called a red solo cup. "Frat party," someone whispered. An aide fainted. Meanwhile, the humans were completely unaware that half the galaxy had tried to spy on them and failed. Or, mostly unaware. Because in a suburban neighborhood in Ohio, retired Marine Corporal Denise Cartwright stood on her lawn in a robe, holding a coffee mug that said, "World's Most Paranoid Mom." Her eyes narrowed at the slightly too stiff mailman. She whispered, "Not this week, lizard boy." The alien agent, Strilln, broke into a cold sweat. He hadn't even said anything, but the woman's dog had growled at him in a tone that translated roughly to, "I know." Strilln never returned to duty. Later that month, the Galactic Linguistics Department finally deciphered several Earth expressions. "Kill it with fire," not just a saying. "No thoughts, head empty," possibly literal in several influences. "Hold my beer," always followed by catastrophe. "Florida man," status, entity of pure entropy. One ambassador asked, "Shouldn't we be studying them?" To which another replied, "We tried." One of our sociologists ended up joining a motorcycle gang. She goes by Linda the Reckless now. She sent a postcard. It read, "Still alive, ate a whole chili, saw God, 10-10. Earth had been called many things, a cradle of chaos, a factory of insanity, a joke gone too far. But the truth? It was a species forged in pressure, raised in confusion, and tempered by noise. They learned to live with uncertainty, to dance in the storm, to laugh while the world burned, often because they started the fire and called it a barbecue, and worst of all, they made others want to try it too. In the final days of the infiltration project, a classified meeting was held in a hidden moon base orbiting Zentar Prime. Admiral Vrosh, head of Galactic Intelligence, stood before a group of broken, twitching, thousand-yard staring former agents. Behind her, a large red button. She sighed. "We tried understanding the humans. We failed." A weak voice piped up. They called me bro. I don't know what that means anymore." Another whispered, "They vape." Indoors. Vrosh pressed the button. Operation Forget Earth was launched. The memories were erased. The data was buried. The warning was passed on in only 3 words. Never. Go. There. But of course there was one more part to the story, because Earth wasn't finished with the galaxy, and it had just learned that someone had been watching, and Earth didn't like voyeurs. The alert came in the middle of an Earth Tuesday, 9:43 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. An intern at NASA, sipping instant coffee and half asleep from binging conspiracy theory forums all night, noticed something odd. A small relay, one usually used to track errant satellites, was picking up signals, not from Earth, but about Earth, encrypted, triangulated, and coming from outside the solar system. The intern, whose name was Toby and whose main achievement so far was setting a vending machine on fire, don't ask, blinked. He called his supervisor. His supervisor called Homeland Security. And Homeland Security? They called Florida, because Florida had a plan. In a reinforced hangar hidden under a theme park in Orlando, the Department of Unwelcome Interstellar Incidents, DUI, gathered. Colonel Janet Burn Unit Mendoza paced in front of a digital screen displaying alien signals. "Let me get this straight," she barked. "They've been spying on us for years, infiltrating, disguising themselves, gathering data." A young analyst nodded. "And failing, ma'am, consistently." Mendoza squinted. "What did they learn?" He hesitated. "They think Guy Fieri is our cultural leader." Mendoza paused. "I mean, fair." Earth did what it always did when faced with a potential threat. It sent a video. The message began with a man, middle-aged, tan, bald and wearing aviators, grilling meat. Behind him, fireworks exploded. He looked into the camera. "Howdy," he said, flipping a burger with one hand and shotgun cocking a spatula with the other. "You've been watching us. Cute, we noticed." Behind him, a marching band played Eye of the Tiger on top of a monster truck painted like the American flag. A cat wearing sunglasses rode a Roomba past his feet. "We ain't mad," he said, "but let me be clear." The screen zoomed into his face. "If you ever try to sneak onto Earth again, we'll send Florida." The camera panned out to reveal a swamp, 3 shirtless men wrestling an alligator and someone playing the banjo with their teeth. The video ended with the Earth flag, an improvised version drawn in crayons, planted on top of a burning alien drone. Back in the Galactic Council, silence reigned. Finally, Councillor Vrick stood. "So, we received their message." Councillor Tallock, shaking slightly, whispered, "What do they want?" "Nothing," Vrick said. "They're not angry. They're not planning revenge." The chamber sighed. "They're disappointed." Everyone sat up straight. "Number not the dad tone." Vrick nodded solemnly. "They know, and now they're watching us." Earth, for its part, moved on. Humans kept doing what humans do, bickering, loving, fighting, dancing badly, creating memes, setting things on fire, and somehow surviving. But now, they knew. They knew the galaxy had been watching. And worse, the galaxy now knew. Humans didn't just endure chaos. They thrived in it. Aliens had tried to infiltrate a Deathworld, and Earth had barely noticed. Because Earth was too busy doing what it always did best, being insanely, unapologetically, absurdly human. And now, the universe would never forget it.